It's rotated. There's a curation. Yes.
It's taken care of.
Yes.
It's curated.
Yes, it's a curated field around her, and I live in a pasture with a draw behind that has wildflowers and
wildlife
and snakes and all kinds of stuff, and there's my house, plop, right on the corner of it, and I'm like, why is my yard not curated? Well, it was never meant to be.
Hey, thanks for watching Storypower TV. I am your host, J. Loren Norris. I'm really glad that you're here today. You're really going to enjoy this conversation. Now, my guest and I stumbled across each other through another unique relationship, but the minute we started our conversation, we realized there's a lot of kindred spirit connection here, and there's a lot in common that goes way deeper than you could have possibly imagined. And it's not just the we do the same thing kind of in common. It's not even that we grew up in the same kind of world common, the small town in the middle of nowhere in Texas kind of common. It's not even that. It's more than that. It's like we came from the same family, but we didn't. Mm-hmm. And when you hear the depth of her heart and why she is where she is, I think there's going to be something that sparks in you a question of why are you still where you are. Help me welcome my guest in studio, Mrs. Celeste Sowder.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the same question we ask everybody on the show. There's now 3 of them. There used to only be 2. It used to be a question and a follow-up. Now there's 3.
Okay.
So you have to answer all 3.
Yes.
Has anybody spilled the beans on what this question is?
I think you might have, but that feels like that was like 3 years ago. It was just last week, but that's fine. We're here.
Okay, so here's the question. Who is Jesus to you?
He's my best friend. He's my best friend.
Why should I care?
Because he can be your best friend too.
And third question, who are you to Jesus?
I'm his friend. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a deep answer.
Yeah, it's a really deep answer. I'm sitting here saying Jesus is my best friend. I'm his best friend. I have to say I probably have had Peter moments. So and there's so much grace there for that.
What do you mean by that?
The denial, maybe. Probably not since I've recognized that relationship, but it doesn't mean it won't happen or hasn't happened. I'm not sure. I'm not getting any conviction on it right now. I will tell you, I did not listen to Holy Spirit this morning, so there's that. But
so something said,
wear the outfit, and I had to go back and change into the outfit.
Because you didn't.
Because I did not. Because I was trying to hide. Because Jesus is my best friend, but I am very, very cautious of making new friends. And so I was starting to be very visible in the community I've been in for the last few days. So I was trying to hide. Yeah.
Is that a personality thing?
No, it's a trauma response.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when you get too visible.
Yeah. So let me tell you about the outfit. I'll tell you about the outfit. So it wasn't this outfit. I was 2 or 3, maybe 4. My grandmother took me shopping, and I was able to pick out my outfit for the first time ever. I didn't have somebody shopping for me. She let me pick out everything. And I picked out a pink flamingo outfit. And that's where my branding comes from. It's in honor of my grandmother who saw me. She saw me and let me be me. But after we picked out the hot pink, neon pink flamingo outfit with the
pinkest
tutu,
thing you could possibly find.
the most pink, bright, I mean, I will glow in the dark kind of pink. We went and had lunch with my mother, and we all agree, right, that there's authority. There's authority in those positions in our life, and sometimes we, as mothers, fell. And my mother focused on my visibility and not my creativity, and I've been running from it ever since. But see, I'm starting to learn too. At 42 years old, so it's taken a good 40 years. It's a Moses thing, I guess. That I was made to be visible. I was made to be visible.
It's hard to put a light under a basket.
Yeah.
And I think people miss that. I think they miss it today because our context of our culture is, well, you can get a flashlight on your phone. I mean, what's the big deal? But getting a flame lit 2,000 years ago when he said that, that was a task all on its own. I mean, we
Yes.
invented fire, we weren't sure how to use it completely, right? But then to put it on top of waxy candle, fat, lard, whatever it was you were burning, and then put a basket that burns on top of it, that's going to do one of two things: destroy the basket or put out the fire. And many of us have had someone else put the basket, a wet basket, a little
Yeah.
on top of the fire just to stop the fire.
Yeah, yeah. So I found myself this morning dressing to blend in, not to stand out. And Holy Spirit had told me, wear the skirt. And I was like, I will not wear that skirt. Thank you, but no thank you. And so I went and changed. And I'm wearing the skirt because it's bring me back to the beginning, to that person that he made me to be. When I didn't know to take other people's thoughts or actions or opinions about me. I didn't know to take them into account before I dressed or before I did things, right? None of us do at 2 or 3, if we're lucky.
Right.
There's some that have experienced trauma even before that, and I actually talk about it in the first chapter of my book, but I didn't know to remain. I just didn't know not to be visible. And I learned really early not to be visible, but I'm learning that I was made for visibility.
My redheaded stepchild was about 5 or 6, and it was my job to drop her off at school. And she came in the room one day with I believe it was a purple shirt and a green skirt and one red sock and one yellow sock. And I looked at her and went, "You're not going to school like that." And she looked at me and she looked at her clothes and she said, "And why not?" And I thought, well, because you're going to embarrass the daylights out of me. That's why. And I think that's really hard as parents. And now as a grandparent, sometimes I look at my kids, my grown adult kids, and I'm like, just let it be. This is not a battle you will win. Right. And if you do win this battle, you may lose a much bigger war.
Yes.
So this is not worth fighting over. My last guest, we talked about an analogy that came to mind. I think of those people who get on the airplane and they try to shove their luggage in the top. And on the one hand, I know that the little weight scale box at the gate that you have to put your suitcase in a lot of ways, that's, we want to make more money if you're taking a heavy suitcase because it costs us extra fuel, etc. On the other hand, I realize there are people who just don't know that there are parameters in physics, in life. There are real live borders. You got to fit within reality. And yet there's that dynamic contrast of parenting that you don't want to put out the flame. Look, if you want to fill the box with marshmallows, fill the box with marshmallows. But they all have to fit in that box if they're going on the airplane. That's not because I don't want you to put things in a box. It's because the airplane only holds so much things.
Right.
And so whatever those things are, be creative within the space. And I think as parents we say, no, it's got to be in the box and it's got to be luggage and it should include blah, 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 blah. And we do the same thing to their God assignment in life.
Yeah.
And we're like, I see you like this and this and this. And here's my parameter for you and here's my, and for God's sake, don't embarrass me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure if I embarrassed her or not. I mean, I was toddler and I was just taking in, what I was being given at the time and I didn't have a view of the outside world, but it did do something to me as far as staying hidden for a very long time, it also put those parameters, or not parameters, but it opened me up to that realization that other people have an opinion about me or I affect my outside world. And so, we had a conversation, or there was somebody that we heard this morning, you didn't hear her, but she was like, I'm tired of apologizing for existing, basically. And I had that moment actually last year where I recorded it, everything, and I was like, I am so tired of apologizing for existing. I'm done with it. And I'd spent my entire life just apologizing for existing, apologizing for being who I was or how I was, or always questioning all of the things. and it left me so empty because I didn't know who I was. And so I'm learning by my relationship with my best friend who I am in him, who I am as a creation.
And is that is the definition of the who that you are framed around who he is?
Absolutely.
Is that why your identity is shifting?
Yes, absolutely. It's such a deep question to be able to just answer and just very succinctly, but yes. So he gave me this vision. I have lots of visions. He gave me this vision. I was driving down a desolate road, farmer's wife, and I was headed to a retreat center that was in the middle of nowhere. So I went through no towns whatsoever. I was just driving to the retreat center. It's about 30 miles from our house, and he gave me this vision of this backyard. And in this backyard that is astroturf. It was a beautiful backyard, but it was very, very curated. And the fence was like 8 foot tall. So
That's a huge word, curated.
It was very curated.
Okay.
Very curated. And, 8 foot tall fence, and I couldn't see anything past this curated lawn except the sky. And in the sky, I could see the Milky Way, and the stars came down and whoosh over my face, okay? And then the next vision, I'm back driving in my vehicle. This wasn't a vision, but this is what he was showing me. I'm driving in my vehicle, and the part of Texas we come from is very, very flat. But in the part that we live in is the beginning kind of Palo Duro Canyon. And so it has some trees, it has a few lakes. And I was in a part that there was trees to my left and there was fields to my right. And he said, just start walking and quit worrying about the parameters. If you come to a boundary, I will tell you, or you just won't be able to walk anymore, right? Like
right.
If you come to a place where it drops off, you can't walk there. Yeah. And he showed me freedom in that, and being myself, and walking in my gifts, and just learning who I am. I don't have to constantly search myself to be sinless, or be in whatever parameters I thought he was putting on me, because that's the world I lived in, were all these parameters. And I think a lot of us are like that, yeah. Right? And it also showed me the authority, not only as parents that we have, but the authority we have in other people's lives, where if these people come into our lives, don't make assumptions that they understand that there's boundaries they can't even see. Like, God's given us this freedom. They might still be in that curated lawn, and to meet them there. Yeah. And so it's been an interesting journey for me, especially working with the women I work with.
Because most of them live in a curated
they
lawn.
Have all
and they spend a lot of money making sure that
yes.
from each angle it has all the perfection.
Yes, yes. And it's very curated, and I work with a lot of them on content. But it's more than just social media content, branding, looking the part, whatever. Like, and it's not even like looking the part; it's looking yourself.
Right.
Right. And
that's a massive distinction.
Yes. Yes.
That's a massive distinction, and I think a lot of the challenge is if someone looked in the mirror and they're like, oh, lipstick is right, makeup is right, earrings are right, everything's good, I'm ready to go out to the world. But they don't look beyond the mirror and go, but am I ready? I recently said, and I think it's the first time I'd ever said it, are you swimsuit season ready?
Right.
I mean, if you're going to go out there and be vulnerable, which means expose yourself, are you swimsuit season ready for exposing yourself? And most people are not.
Right.
They get the 9 layers on and they're like, well, I'm willing to open my suit coat, but, that's as far as I go. So this is me being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, but what about the rest of it? And the reality is, if you're willing to step on the platform, virtual or physical,
yes.
stage, take a mic in your hand, proclaim a bold truth, expect transformation in somebody's life.
Yes.
They are not going to stop with this.
Right.
They're going to dig. They're going to dig deep. And if they, for some reason, disagree with you, they're going to dig deep enough to find pain, and they're going to poke it.
Yes, yes, yes. That happens with me a lot, and I make people really uncomfortable. And the ones that stay are ready, and the ones that can't handle it, that's okay. I just pray that there was a seed planted, or a little exposure to a bigger issue that whoever comes in their path, or Holy Spirit, or whoever, can help free them, because that is really what I'm all about, is like the freedom to be who you are with the confidence and the clarity of whose you are, right?
Yeah. That's where the native weed grows up in your curated garden, right? You get the perfect little stone path and the well-selected little perennials, and everything's in place, and then all of a sudden this sunflower comes over. You're like, I did not plant sunflower seeds here. No, God put them there about 1,000 years ago, and you can't kill those things. They're coming back, and they will be waving at the sun the whole time, and they don't care what you think about them. They live here first.
Yeah, and I really, really gave my husband a really hard time for a very long time. So we've been together 20 years. He's grown up on the farm. His mother had a yard that you could walk through with barefooted or whatever, bare feet, and not get a sticker. I do not have that yard. I don't have that yard, nor do I want to put the effort in, but I thought he should. He should put in that effort because, he's a farmer, so therefore he
all the
understands.
Tricks. Yeah, make it happen.
And he's just not wired that way. And so we live in the middle of a pasture. His mother lives in the middle of a field. See, the field gets plowed. It's
rotated.
It's rotated. There's a
cultured,
curation.
It's fertilized.
Yes.
It's taken care of.
Yes.
It's curated.
Yes, it's a curated field around her. And I live in a pasture with a draw behind that has wildflowers and
wildlife
and
all kinds
snakes
of critters.
and all kinds of stuff, and there's my house plop right on the corner of it, and I'm like, why is my yard not curated? Well, it was never meant to be. It was never meant to be. And it takes a certain amount. It is surrender. That would be surrender to not put him in that box, but B, I don't have to have that perfectly curated yard that I grew up with, or that I think I should have because of stature or whatever, or status. I'm not sure. That's a word.
And the traded expectations for reality.
Yeah.
I think when people quote that scripture that says, delight yourself in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart, there are a lot of people that hear that biblical declaration like The Secret. Focus on the thing you want and you'll get the thing you want.
Yeah.
And that is not what he's saying.
No.
He's like, if you'll delight yourself in me, you can have all of that you want.
Yeah.
I was like, my wife helped me break the porn addiction by saying, I understand your desire is like the Cheesecake Factory menu, but your real menu is like Cane's. You get chicken. Or you can have all the chicken you want. That's me. You can have all of this you want, but you can't have any more of that.
Right.
And when God shifts our desire, it's not that we become... Instantly, our desire becomes we want the pasture versus we want the actual field.
Right.
It's we learned that the pasture is what we were designed for in the first place. Mm-hmm. This is where I'm made to be. This is the who that I really am. These are the things that really light me up and make me better.
Yes.
And that's hard because, like you said, the curated lawn versus the pasture. Those are drastically different.
They are. And
we are made for one. It's not that one is made for us or not.
Right.
We're made for one of those or the other.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And when it comes to the pasture and that kind of freedom and stuff like that, it comes with its own challenges.
Yeah. Pros and cons, or just cons?
Oh, pros. Oh, man, y'all. The West Texas sunsets, man, pro. You can see that. You can't see that from an 8-foot fence.
You can't see that in the city when the sun sets 40 feet above the ground because there's a house or a building or a fence or a bunch of trees. In Lubbock, you can see it disappear below the earth, and you're like, whoa, what was that? Yeah. And that was the sun until the sun was gone.
Yeah.
And it changes colors.
Well, it's even hard to see it in Lubbock anymore, but you get a little
When I was there, we had just enough ozone, and this was 30 years ago. There was just enough ozone that it looked like it was going behind a mountain that didn't exist.
Yes. Yep. And it does do that sometimes, and it'll come up like that too, and you're like, it looks like mountains.
Yeah, there's no mountains there.
No, there's no mountains.
You're
It's
on the
flat.
top of the plateau. There's nothing there.
No, yeah.
I
No.
remember a lot of people that would come. They would come from Indiana or Idaho or something, and they'd come to Reese Airplane Patch where I was stationed. They're like, Texas sucks. It's flat and dirt and red. I'm like, drive 100 miles that way and see what happens.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing
Yeah.
when you drop off that cap rock.
Yeah, the minute you come off of there and you're like, wait, Brownwood has trees?
Yeah.
It does. Abilene
water.
has trees.
And water.
And lakes. There's lakes everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. Or people are like, well, you don't even have hills in Texas. I'm like, drive through San Saba and then go down to Del Rio and hang a right. From Del Rio up that Red River, Grand Canyon. Yeah, you don't see any of that in Oklahoma. That's still pretty flat too. But you get down there along Del Rio, you follow that Rio Grande River, and you end up in the big mountains. There's 7,000-foot mountains down
Yes.
there. People are like, in Texas? I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Texas, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, going back to like the curated, the skirt, all of that stuff, it's like we all are made in his image, and we are all uniquely made, right? And so it's how do we meet people where they're at with curiosity, speak life over them, and make an impact with whoever it is that God puts in our path. And that was squelched, or like, I don't even know, like it was snuffed out for a very long time.
Which one is the real Celeste? Is this curated, or is this
This
the
is
pastor?
me. Man, curated. I Summer likes to say Pink chose her. I chose pink a long time ago, and I let it go. I was like, "Pew, no, we're not
Either
doing
way.
that."
Yeah.
And I wore black. Black was my color for a very, very long time. And you will still see me in black because I like some black. But no, this is fleshly. If I hadn't done the work I've been doing, if I hadn't leaned in and really listened to the Lord and really sought Him in everything, because that's this last season was about for me, I would not have felt comfortable in this. No, this is me.
So when you say, I was in Peter mode, I think of Peter like I think of stories, episodic,
Yes.
right? So in the first Peter, we have Peter the fisherman,
Yes.
and we have some crazy carpenter's kid going, dude, try the other side of the boat. And Peter went,
Excuse
what is
me.
wrong with you? We've been fishing on this side of the boat and that side of the boat out on the sea. There's no fish to be had tonight. And the carpenter's kid was like, let me correct you. That had to be infuriating to have some nobody tell you that your profession you were doing wrong.
Yeah.
Then you have Peter trying to cut somebody's ear off. And you have Peter with a constant, obstinate pushback. But you also have Peter that when he was asked, who is Jesus to you? He said, you're the Christ, the only Son of a living God. He's like, oh, wait a minute, that's not written down anywhere. Where'd you get that? And then he told him where he got it. He's like, nobody could have told you that but Dad. He's the only one who knows it like that.
Right.
So you just heard something no one else in history has ever heard. And so Peter went on from there to go, yeah, I don't know the guy. And then Jesus even brings it back. And I heard a Jewish scholar say this one time. He was a Jew, and he was a scholar, and he's a Christian.
Yeah.
When I read his books, I have to use a dictionary because I don't understand half what he's saying. He's a nice guy, though.
I love those kind of books.
Yeah, awesome writer. The point he made with Peter was he said when Jesus came back after the resurrection and he made the fire on the beach, while they were all out like, our leader is dead. What are we going to do now? I
Yeah.
guess we'll go fishing. And they come back in and he has lit a fire. He said, the Bible's very specific about the type of fire that he lit.
Okay. All right.
I'd never read that before. He lit a charcoal fire.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, all fire makes charcoal. I mean, what are you getting at? He said, understand that when Peter was standing around the barrel, the word actually says he was standing over a charcoal fire. Right. Now, if you've studied any kind of trauma responses, we all have this thing where our nose reminds us of
Yes.
something.
Yes.
And so they didn't recognize Jesus by his voice. They didn't recognize Jesus. The men walking with him, they're like, we don't even. And then all of a sudden he began to, and it was like we were right back there. Oh, we know this guy now.
Yeah.
And so it's like aromatherapy. Peter gets off the boat, walks up, the guy offers him fish, and he's like, wait, that fire, smell of that fire is triggering to me. Mm-hmm. Now, I was a firefighter. I can smell a fire that I cannot even see the smoke of and tell you if it's a grass fire, it's house fire, it's petroleum fire. I can almost tell you what's on fire just by smelling the scent of the smoke that I cannot see.
Wow. Okay.
I can smell wet diesel from burning diesel. You probably can too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you smell it, you're like, that's a leak or that's a spill versus that's the exhaust.
Yes.
And so you know the difference between those two. One of those is triggering, one of those is familiar.
Yes.
The charcoal fire for Peter was triggering so that he could be healed.
Yes. Yes.
And then he said, feed my sheep. Did you betray me? Yes. Did you betray me for real? Yes. Did you betray me in all things? Yes. Feed my sheep.
And he said it 3 times.
Yes.
That I forgive you too.
Yeah.
That I forgive you 3 times.
So which Peter do you identify with?
Okay. In the past season, let me tell you, Peter, I know because this is what God, Jesus, or the Holy Spirit, whoever. When I was reading the Gospels, so a little bit about me. I had a little mental breakdown, a little 6-month psychosis there. It wasn't little, and it broke me of a lot of different things. It was a very good breakthrough, but I had a lot. So I read the Gospels during this psychosis, and I was shown Peter jumping out of the boat. Okay, so Peter, his tenacity, that's
a good word.
Yes, he is very tenacious. He's very tenacious. So
if we had a teenager like that today, we would call them obnoxious.
Yes. So Peter had ADHD. That was what was shown to me. So his impulsivity.
Not sure that's in the scripture, but it's in the characteristics.
This is from my own lived experience that I was seeing in the patterns, because
right.
I was late diagnosed ADHD at 41, and I was seeing this impulsive behavior out of Peter, jumping out of the boat. Like, who does that? He didn't think through that. No, that was impulsive. Yeah. And then when he got out there, he was putting the patterns together, and his brain's like, oh, no. And I always read that verse where Jesus says, oh, ye of little faith, with so much shame.
Wow.
Because I had the lens of shame on my life, because I was like shame personified. Like it was just shameful to be me, right? And so internalized. And I always read it like that. And when shame was breaking off of me, and I read it again, it was like, oh, ye of little faith. I could see the eyes dancing with joy, and just look at this learning experience, and leaning down and not letting him sink, and that he had the tenacity to do it anyways, even if it was an impulsive decision. See, Jesus was showing me all those impulsive decisions, all that stuff you did, it will turn into tenacity, and in a bold way, not just for me but for others. You will help me reach others, right?
So as you're saying this, I'm rethinking and re-envisioning, having over a dozen grandkids now. I watch them do things, and I tell their parents, and I've taught this for years, sometimes that authoritative no is because I have to save your life. Mm-hmm. I know you're about to run into traffic or do something stupid. And I can see myself as a parent in the boat, and I can see a teenager or a grandchild, oh, Jesus, wait, let me go. And just jumping off and running and thinking, well, he's over there, I can go over there. Without the thought processes of the world of mm-hmm. reality. If he's doing it, I can do it, I'm going. That spontaneous, imaginative, creative, free thinking. I don't care about the rules. If he can do it, I can do it. Why would I not do it? Why can I not do it? Why can't I? And then all of a sudden the reality of judgment come in. Mm-hmm. But I can also, for the first time, I've never thought this through this way, I see myself teaching so many of them to ride a bicycle.
Yeah.
And watch them fall over and go, well, I guess bicycle's not for you. No, we don't do that.
No.
They take 4 steps and smash their face on the coffee table. well, I guess walking's not for you. We don't do that.
No, we don't do that.
And Jesus didn't look at Peter and go, yeah, you're a failure at walking.
Right.
Get back in the boat.
Yeah, no.
He never said that.
No. I did interpret it like that for a very long time.
I think many of us do.
Yes.
Even if it's subconsciously. Even if we would never verbalize it and go, yeah, Jesus looked at Peter and went, dude, walking on water is not for you. Get back in the boat. You don't have enough faith for this.
Yeah.
That's not what he said.
Yeah, no. And when he said, "Oh ye of little faith," I can see it with his eyes dancing and like, what a learning experience. Look, you walked on water now. But before it was like, "Oh ye of little faith."
Right.
Get back in the boat. That was kind of how I viewed it. Well, that's where the skirt comes back into. The visibility, my 2-year-old, 3-year-old self was made visible to my mother, and that's all she commented on. And that's all she still comments on. And the creativity, the willingness to be seen wasn't. And so in my mind, that was the wrong thing.
So putting the skirt on is jumping out of the boat.
It's jumping out of the boat, it's walking on water, it's being myself and putting on the pink flamingo earrings. And
also knowing walking on water is not for everybody.
not for everyone. And those out there, that the ones that are still in the boat, still afraid, but that they're meant to be walking on the water, it's
What if the scripture had followed that with, oh, y'all, come on.
yeah,
Forget the boat. We'll walk back.
yeah,
I already silenced the storm. Let's go. I mean, he didn't choose to walk out there on a nice, peaceful day. He didn't walk 20 feet from the shore. He found them halfway across the lake in a storm that was scaring them to death and showed up and they're like, is that a ghost? No, it's me for real. I'm here. Y'all want to walk back?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, it's me getting out of the box. It's me getting out of the boat. It was done with intention, not impulsivity this time.
Good. So what does that mean for others?
The boxes, the labels, the I can'ts, the I apologize for existing, those things can be not only healed, but they can be redeemed in ways that we never thought possible. The person I was even 2 years ago, especially 2 years ago, but the person I was even 5 years ago, man, I don't know if she would even like me, honestly. I don't know if she would have even liked me, but I don't care.
How many times have you said goodbye to her?
A lot. And, I look completely different than I did even then. Really different. I've lost weight. I've stepped into learning who I've been created to be, and embracing that. And I've thanked her for a lot of things too.
Yeah.
And I've thanked that 2-year-old me, and I've thanked kindergarten me, who had aggressive ability for leadership. And I've thanked them for those experiences, and I've thanked my mother for them too, because there's a lot of times where I look back and that validation and permission that I needed, that I didn't receive, when I receive it from others who start seeing me, it's really uncomfortable. Like, let's just be honest. But it's received. It's not like I know. It's received because I'm walking with him leading me.
I think the best expression, and maybe this will be good for you, it will be a benefit to you.
Yes.
Gifts to you. I know I have gifts. And I've, for a long time, been told you're very prideful, you're very hard-headed, you're very stubborn. And usually it turns out that those are people who are either jealous of the gift or they can't identify their own. And I don't mean that to be a bad thing. I just mean, I've always wrestled with, how do you acknowledge and honor the gift giver without competing with other people who don't recognize the gift? And so I was talking to a friend who's been a missionary for years and years and years. He's been to Nigeria 15 times. And he says, remember when you were a kid, Mom would stop at the store on the way to a birthday party, and you had to pick out something for Billy's birthday? I'm like, yeah. He said, remember how many times you picked it, and you had one of two attitudes, and it depended how much you loved Billy. You either bought the gift and you ran to Billy and went, open mine first, because you were so excited to give him something that you knew would just light him up. On the other hand, you would buy something hoping that he would reject it and you would get to keep it because you wanted the gift for yourself. And when I think of the natural expression that God wants to call out of us all, I think often that we look at the gift and we like, it can make me rich, it can make me famous, it can make me accomplished, it can make me well known. And from TikTok all the way across the board, you have people, I want to write the speech that sells, and what they're thinking is that veneer that causes everyone to like me.
Right.
Where the gift that God's given us, he didn't give us for us. He gave it to others. Even Jesus said, I come to give you the fivefold ministry, the pastor, teacher, for the work of building up the saints for the work of the kingdom. These are gifts to the church from Jesus that came from the Father.
Yeah.
Dad said, give these to the church. The Son said, I'm giving these to the church. And then those people go, look at the gift I am to the world. Look at me shine. He's like, that is not why I gave you the gift. You are the gift to the church for another purpose. And the enemy would love for us all to pull back, to squelch that gift.
Yeah.
To go, I'm not meant to be a gift. I'm just here to watch. I'm just here to listen. And he's going, but do you understand you're the only one that can shine in this environment? What I've made you to do, nobody else can do.
Yeah. And
our job as leaders, especially in the kingdom, should be to go, I see the gift in you. Let me pull the basket off. Let me put it in a place where you're safe to shine. And like the candle, I know there's wind blowing, there's going to be breeze, there's going to be opposition, there's going to be rain, there's going to be other people coming at you to put that flame out. I'm going to guard the flame. Is that okay? Let me guard the flame. That's what we should be doing as leaders.
Oh my goch, yes.
But I know you have a story of church hurt too, and if we had time to go, we'll do that in another interview.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what church hurt is.
It is.
It's when people have the shameful eyes of Jesus and Peter on the boat, as opposed to saying, let's walk together.
Yeah.
They say, you don't have enough faith for healing. You don't have enough faith to hear God speak. You don't have enough faith to know the sound of his voice. That's not for you. That's for me. I'm the leader. Look at me. I'm the gift.
Yeah.
Rather than, look at me. I'm the gift to help you find yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish we had another hour and a half to talk.
We'll talk soon. We will.
And we'll do it right here for everybody who loves to watch Storypower TV. Maybe in the other studio.
Yeah.
Sounds
Sounds good.
Awesome. Celeste, I appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.
Appreciate your vulnerability and your heart and your willingness to shine where you're supposed to.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing it.
Thank you. If you're watching Storypower TV and you're asking yourself the question, am I supposed to shine? Yes. If you don't believe me, read it. He said, I am the light of the world. And then he said, you are the light of the world. You are supposed to shine. That prophecy from Isaiah to raise up the sick and to bind up the brokenhearted, that's not just for him, that's for you. If you're watching, you should be the light of the world. You should be healing the sick. You should be opening deaf ears and blind eyes. That's what you're here for. That's your job. And if you're not capable of doing it, then it's because somebody told you you couldn't. You have the right, you have the power, you have the authority. Get busy. What are you waiting on? Get out of the boat. And if you're asking the question, does God love me? Don't ask me, ask him. And then you might be surprised that he answers you. You might be surprised with the answer that he gives you. But here's the promise. If you ask him, he will answer. That's not my promise. That's his promise. So test it. I'm Loren Norris with Storypower TV for Tell It Like It Is. Have a blessed day. Okay, so really simple question for you. Are you coming to the Storypower retreat? It's August 4th through the 8th. We're actually paying for your room. We're paying for your food. We're encouraging and inviting you to be a part of the Storypower Academy's 4-day retreat. Now, here's what the retreat is all about. For the last many years, almost 15 years, we've done the Storypower Masterclass. Almost every time we've done it, it's been a 1-day, 6-hour, super intensive, very emotionally charged encounter. And it's been an encounter that basically everybody in the room gets to the front of the room one time. They tell their story, and then I coach them on their story, and then I spend the rest of the 6 hours teaching and training. Now, if you've ever been in an environment like that, you walk out at the end of the day with a whole lot of new information and a whole lot of emotional charge and a whole lot of questions that you don't get time to get answered. So the purpose of the retreat is twofold. The first of which is we want to create more opportunities for everyone who attends to get to the front of the room, to get on stage, to get in front of a camera, to really get the pressure put on them about the story they tell. Why did they choose that story? What part of that story is important? What part of that story should they leave out? Which other stories do they need to include? How do those stories fit together? What do they do to present or promote my company, my business, my product, my book, my sales, my coaching? That's a whole lot of questions. It's really hard to answer all of those questions for each individual in one 6-hour day. So the Storypower Masterclass is being expanded to the Storypower Retreat for the purpose of getting those questions answered for everyone who attends. Secondly, though, what we really want to do is help people understand that story isn't just a script that you make up. Scripts are for actors. And a whole lot of people make up a script. They throw it on their nice little presenter so that they can read it from the screen. Maybe they've even got the fancy little teleprompter where they can actually read it and look right into the lens, and you feel like every word they say is so sincere. And yet it's made up and edited and published, and maybe even, perhaps even, the story itself was made up by AI. It happens. I know, because I have a coaching client that we've been working through her next phase, and part of that includes a book. And she sent me one of the chapters as I was editing through the stories that we've worked on together. I came across the story and I was like, hey, I don't remember ever hearing the story from you. And she's like, wait, I never told anybody that story. In fact, all the elements of it are good, but it's not a true story for me. I've never lived through that moment. I don't know what that's about. I said, so if I was fascinated by the story and then started asking you questions, you couldn't back up those questions. She's like, no, I don't know anything about the event. I don't know anything about the moment. I don't know anything about those people. See, when we go through the Storypower Retreat, we ask questions like, why did you choose that story? And then, is it true? And how did that actual moment bring your emotions to the surface? And what does that mean for other, let me say it like this. Dr. Phil would say, how does that make you feel? That's a really important question, because how that moment made you feel when you relive the story, not narrate it, but when you relive that story, if you're healed from it, that story brings life to others. If you're not healed from it, retelling that story might re-traumatize you and everybody who hears it. If you found healing and you found hope and you found a solution, you found a better way to live because of the moment you lived through, that's what everybody gets out of it. They hear it and they think, wow, that same thing happened to me. I went through the same thing. How can I find a solution? And you become their solution. And yes, that's what the Storypower Retreat is all about. It's discovering those stories that say, this is not just what I want to do, but this is why. This is who I help and how. And what relevant stories in my life should I tell to let them know that I care about them, that I can help them, that I have a solution that's of value to them. That's what you'll walk away with at the end of the Storypower Retreat. But let me add a bonus, a little icing on the cake. We've got a few little tricks up our sleeve that I'm not going to tell everybody because I don't want everybody to steal my ideas. But we have some technologies and some opportunities. And if I were to spin this camera around, you could see our studio right here in Granbury, Texas. And you just might have access to that if you're a member of this retreat. We're also working on some extra things that I'm not even going to say here. But if you're part of the retreat, you're really going to love them. Still working on them. We'll let you know as they come. But you got to get registered for the retreat. The other thing I want you to really know, this is another icing on the cake, is that the people who come to this retreat, who really master the art of story power, not just storytelling, a lot of people can tell stories, but the power of stories, what I call story power, is both sides of that blade. Those people who master that become completely different kinds of people in leadership, in influence, in persuasion, in the marketplace. And in this small group of people, Listen, the table that we'll be doing our training at is the dining table in the Iron Horse Inn right here in Granbury, Texas. That table seats 14. Not 22, not 16, 14. After we get to 14, it's standing room only. The inn only has 8 rooms. Each room only sleeps 2 people because it has a king bed. So don't be signing up with somebody that you want to split the cost with if you don't want to sleep in the same bed with them. Maybe a spouse, maybe a bestie, but not just any random stranger. But if you want to be a part of that, you need to send me a private message. I'm not putting the link on here. Because there's only room for 14 people, because there's only 8 rooms in this inn, there's only 2 suites. If you want a suite, you need to sign up. Oh, there's only one left. Sorry, one of those is already booked. There's only 1 suite left. There's only 6 other rooms left. If you want to be a part of this retreat, you need to send me a message. You go, hey, I want to be a part of this retreat. If you need a payment plan, we'll work that out. If you need a discount, we'll find an excuse to find a discount that meets your budget if it's possible. But if you want to be here, I want to make a way for you to be here. If you want to change the stories that you tell in your head and from your mouth, you need to be a part of the Storypower Retreat. If you want to change the influence that you have in people's lives because you can reach out to them with a new story that you've never told before, and you could tell it at a gas pump, you could tell it in the grocery store line, you could build it into a 45-minute keynote, you could write it into a book if you want to master stories like that. If you want to live through a moment that you've never experienced before and walk out on the other side of that brand new moment and go, I have a story to tell and it's going to change lives. That's the skill set I want to teach you. I want to teach you not just how to recount, regurgitate, memorize a story, but I want to teach you how to craft one from scratch, from something you've never experienced before. That's what I want you to walk away with. And I want you to be here at Storypower Retreat. It's right here in Granbury, Texas. All you've got to do is get to Granbury. We're going to pay for your room. We're going to pay for your food. All you've got to do is get to Granbury, Texas, August 4 through 8. If you can do that, you're going to walk away a changed person. I'm pretty confident of that. And you're going to walk away empowered in a way that you've never experienced before in your life. If that's of interest to you, you need to send me a private message and say, where's the link and how do I get signed up? And we'll make that happen. I'm Loren Norris with Storypower Academy and the Storypower Retreat coming up in August 4 through 8. You need to get signed up and you need to do it now. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Christina Knowles, and I just got done taking Jay Loren's Storypower Masterclass. It was amazing. I took away so much information. One of the things that I really enjoyed being formally trained in media many years ago is the call to action. I will use that with every speaking engagement, and I'm so grateful that Loren just spoke truth into his teachings, and he is a true professional. And I know this might sound weird, but I've been taking certifications in different classes over the years, and Loren is not boring. I can't even believe I got here at 9, and then the class went by so fast that I was like, it's time to go already? And I was shocked that it was time to go already. So it's an awesome class. You're going to enjoy it.